Hi guys. Yeah, if you're joining us, please just greet us, say hi, and tell us which country you are streaming from. I'm seeing some people who are already, online. Just greet us. I want to see who is streaming with us right at this moment. So yeah, I know today we had another session that we've planned to talk about Web3. Yeah, unfortunately, our speaker couldn't make it, but I'll definitely set up that session. I'll prepare the content myself and share it with you guys. Yeah, because I think there's a lot that is happening in that space. But I thought, since the year is still early, it might be worth talking about the drivers of engagement. How do we, encourage the employees. It doesn't have to be designers, but it can be any of the employees and or even colleagues that we work with, right? How do we keep each other engaged, motivated, right? Whether you're working in a remote or hybrid setup. Yeah, and yeah, today, I will just share my approach, and I'm quite keen to actually see what you guys think, right? I mean, I'm sure there are various methods and and ways in which you guys help to create a conducive working environment, to um, make people feel engaged. So yeah, I mean, I'll talk about this shortly. And yeah, I see David Joseph is here from Nigeria. Thanks a lot, man. It's really great to see you again. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. And yeah, David, so yeah, if you can just engage with us, drop us your questions, your comments, as we go through the session. um, yeah, let's see who else is online. And so yeah, today's topic, right? As much as I'm going to be sharing, I want to hear from people. If you come in late, it's fine. If you may be watching this later, um, it's fine. You can come and just drop your comments, show your views, etc., right? And yeah, I said it's important for us to engage on this topic. So yeah, um also, yeah, I'm seeing Ndogozo from South Africa. Great to see you, man. Yeah, as I said, guys, we plan to talk about Web3 and how to design for Web3. The speaker is not here. I will remind people as they join, but we'll plan that session for some other time. And I thought it's worth talking about drivers of engagement. We will quickly jump into that. And yeah, again, I'll be happy to hear your thoughts, and also I'll be happy to hear from you, Dogozo. And yeah, I mean, I'm quite keen to hear from you, especially as a junior designer, right? There might be like some challenges that you're facing, and maybe some lessons, and also some knowledge that you've received from your working environment that you can share with others, so that they can learn from you as well. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna start now. So yeah, if you're joining us, maybe let me just drop a message to remind people, that yeah, if you're joining us, just greet us, tell us which country you're from. And sometimes for some reason I can't see people's names. Yeah, so just include your name. For some people I can see them. So I don't know what happens between the application I'm using to stream and LinkedIn. So just give me a moment here. I try to remind people, and then we'll kick off. Cool, guys. Yeah. So let's begin. And yeah. So, what is employee engagement? Um, I think it's always important, to talk about the definition, right? And the various definitions I can find, online, and it's really about strengthening the mental and and the emotional connection of employees so that they feel, you know, um, great about themselves. They feel connected, to work, and also they feel connected and motivated to work with their teams, and also they have a strong, emotional attachment, to the company that they are working for, right? And some of the challenges that we have, I know we've got like too many procedures and rules in a lot of companies that we work for, right? And some people might feel that there isn't enough like growth opportunities. That's why they feel the need, to leave their companies, to go and work for others. And we've seen, a big trend in the last probably 10 years or so, or even more than that, actually, that our parents used to stay longer, in companies. They probably work, for one company until, they retire. Then that's not the case now, right? So people are constantly looking for opportunities, right? Sometimes that they might feel that there's a lack of alignment, or they're not being like recognized, and also they might feel unheard, etc., right? And also there's a strong need, especially from the young generation, for a for a work-life balance, right? If there's a poor work-life balance, they will feel that, sorry, they won't feel the energy, to engage, continuously, and they won't feel motivated, right? So there's a bunch of like reasons, right? And why people don't feel engaged. And some people can work fully remotely and still have, good levels of engagement, produce quality work, etc. Some they might do hybrid, some they might work in the office, full time, etc., right? um so yeah. And the question really is, what are the key things that we can look at, to drive engagement? And this is something that like we've been like experimenting. It's like early days, and I'm quite keen just to hear from you guys, right? What you guys are doing at your own companies, and the whole purpose of this, is to share and to learn from each other, right? Various companies are doing various things. Maybe there's certain things that you guys have tried that are working. Maybe they're like, lessons learned, from them. And I'm quite keen to, to hear from you guys, right? So freedom, recognition, togetherness, voice, challenge, clarity. I will quickly jump in and, define what each of these mean, right? So there'll be like a voting exercise, right? So there's this approach, right, where you use this like drivers of engagement, and you've got, imagine that you've got like, a bunch of designers in your team, maybe 20 or 30 or 10 or 5, right? Depending on how small or big your team is, right? And so you'll give them an opportunity for each driver of engagement, like for them to vote in terms of how they feel. You'll see this shortly, right? So they have like these like, stickies that they can use to vote, and I'll show you guys the format, right? And behind the scenes, you can even like set up a poll for each driver, right? And on a scale of 1 to 10, and say, hey, vote in terms of how you feel. Do you feel that you've got, enough freedom, recognition, growth, etc., right? So I'll quickly, talk about the definitions. And this is something that maybe you guys can try even at your own company, right? I'm happy to share this, so that you guys can copy and then, customize it however you like. And so basically, freedom means that, do they have the freedom and flexibility to choose how they do their work, right? And I'm gonna remind you to, share your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be like sharing them, and I'm quite keen to see what you guys are thinking. So yeah, so under freedom, let's say you've got 20 designers in your team, right? And you've asked them to vote on a scale of 1 to 10. You've asked a question. Do you have the freedom and flexibility to choose how you do your work? I know a lot of times, if you work in an environment, in a delivery environment where there's like a product owner, scrum master, dev guys, BAs, business stakeholders, etc. Right? A lot of people have got, various interests, in terms of how the work gets delivered, right? And there are often conflicts that we have to learn to manage continuously, right? And there's always struggles in terms of like how do you share your ideas, right? So that you can express yourself clearly, so that people understand how you want to do your work, right? So there are various ways, right? Flexibility to choose how you do your work. Is it the choice of the platform that you use? Is it the time that the team meets? Is it um, the I don't know, maybe like, different working arrangements that you have, right? Maybe you are a mom, maybe you're married, you've got a family that you need to commit to, right? Or maybe you've got like other, like, interests in your life. Maybe you could be, I don't know, let's say you're working on a side hustle, right? And in those cases, I mean, as we have seen, there's like a strong need now for companies, to cater for, employees like side hustles. And some companies, they're actually interested to hire people who are doing something on the side, and they can say, hey, you can work 4 days a week, and then on the fifth day, you can do your own thing, right? So, anyways, so let's say you've voted, right, on the poll, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? You can, basically, get an average score to say, to see how people are feeling, right? And what you will do is, as part of this exercise, you give them, some stickies. You ask them a question, what makes you feel that you don't have enough freedom? They'll give you some reasons, and someone might say some of the suggestions made are not heard, or they're not implemented. Maybe some business requirements can conflict with design systems or whatever, and then you ask them, okay, cool. Once they've shared, how they feel, then you can ask them, what can be done to make you feel that you have enough, freedom. Maybe someone might say, focusing on refining, design team process, or maybe having more working sessions, with other designers, collaborating, etc. Right? Or maybe to be included, in critical meetings, or whatever the case is, right? So, anyways, so people will have their ideas, they will share, etc. Right? And yeah, so the most important thing is just to get an idea, right, of how the team is feeling, and also, some key critical things that can be resolved, right? um so yeah, let me actually just pause a bit here, and I'm just going to be navigating. So yeah, I'm seeing some people here, they've joined. Someone doesn't have audio. I don't know where this comment is coming from. Just give me a moment, guys. Okay, I can't see. Yeah, but guys, please, just let me know if you can hear me. I don't know. Uh, Let me just do a quick test here. Okay. Yeah, it's that individual who's got a problem. I don't know who that person is. But yeah, I see Emeka from Nigeria. Great to see you, man. One of our regulars. Um, so yeah, going back to recognition, right? Do you feel that you continuously learn and develop your talent and capability? That's like the question, right? And I'm happy, to hear your thoughts. Yeah. So, okay, cool. That's great. See David is saying that yes, you can hear me. Awesome, and thanks for that. I know some people are busy. They'll probably join us later, or watch this thing later, which is fine. I'm still keen to hear your thoughts, even if you join after we've completed the stream, right? So again, do you feel that you continuously learn and develop your talent and capability, right? And so at a very high level, right? Again, want to ask people what makes you feel that you don't have enough recognition. Maybe someone might say, even when a design solution works well, it's not always recognized, not always getting time to present the work that they do, etc. Or maybe, someone might say, I I don't know, like the various reasons, right? And what can be done to make you feel that you have enough recognition, right? Maybe announcing and celebrating, the work that you guys do, etc. Right? I know some various companies, they have ways to recognize people internally, their processes, put in place. But I think it's very important, like for us to be intentional, right? About, even though there are processes in place, right? And how do, just because there are processes in place and tools doesn't necessarily mean that things will actually happen, right? And it's really about being intentional, right? And making sure that whatever that is important gets done, right? And yeah, so some of these things, like, you might address them at a team level or maybe at an individual level, right? um yeah, so togetherness, right? Do you feel trusted and supported in the team? So it gets a bit tricky. As much as we have, like, a hybrid model, or maybe some people are working like fully remote, right? Yeah, maybe it was easy, like, before COVID, where you can just like approach someone and just say, hey man, I'm working on this thing. Can you please take a few minutes to help me, etc. Right? Now you have to be like more intentional, right? Because you have to like message someone, say, hey man, I need your help, right? They might be there, they might not be there, right? And a lot of people, nowadays are like in meetings. I mean, we've seen a number of like meetings that have been created. There are a lot more, way lot more, than the meeting that we had previously, right? Because it's easy to just set up meetings. You don't have to, book a venue. It was great to be limited by the venues, because there are only so many meetings you can have on, in a day. And at the same time, it's great not to have to worry about booking meetings, but that means that you have to be intentional about blocking time for you to work, right? And being available. And yeah, so being available, and also making a bit of time, to interact and engage with your colleagues, right? Even if you are working remotely, right? And because there are some interactions, because there's so much like happening, right? Some interactions might not feel organic, right? And might even get a bit difficult for people, to feel that they're together. So there's the togetherness, in the sense that we can easily jump on a call, and do stuff in Figma, design, review the design, share our ideas, etc. Right? And as soon as you're done, you need to jump off to another meeting, right? And to have those like silly conversations in between, to have the opportunities to joke, just to share about stupid things that you've seen on Twitter, or TikTok. So yeah, I mean, there are various ways, right? And um, even the levelness of like togetherness, right, is relevant to an individual. Because I don't like to interact with people a lot. I'm happy to stick to myself. And even though like I might appear to be a bit extrovert online, I'm not that like extroverted, but I tend to keep to myself. And even though I am aware of that, I have to make a bit of effort, right? To show the togetherness, and somehow, and it might not necessarily be in a way that the other person is ready to receive it. Um, but yeah, so I'll be quite keen, to share. I mean, to hear your thoughts, right? Maybe there's some activities that you guys do, right? In your in your companies, Maybe there are like, so maybe it could be a setup, right? How you run the meetings, and being intentional about maybe some of the recurring meetings, right? Or it could be about setting up time outside of the office, because nowadays it should be a lot more easier to say, hey, let's go to the park, or let's go to a museum. Yeah, actually I've seen like some nice like places even in Cape Town, where I feel like, oh wow, I could hang around with the team here, have a nice lunch, wander around the museum and appreciate, a lot of like art and stuff, and take a bit of time to work in between, right? Because some things, they don't necessarily have to be costly, and I think if we're willing to just spend a bit of like money, from our pockets, even if it's like you know money that you meant to spend for lunch, right? It doesn't have to be like big. And so yeah, anyways, so in terms of like togetherness, right? The question is, do you feel that you can just learn and develop your talent and capability, right? So I don't know if you guys can see this clearly, and I hope you can. But I said, like, I'm quite keen just to hear, because I know that their level of quality is not that great. Uh, yeah, because I chose I chose a cheap package. There's one package that comes in like HD. Yeah, it's quite expensive. So I was like, what? I'll see. I'll probably pay for it at some point. But for now, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not gonna spend it. I'm not gonna spend too much money. But anyways, so I'm just giving you guys some context, right? If you can't see, that's fine. I think the most important thing is just to understand that when you talk about togetherness, right? The question is, do you feel that you continuously learn and develop your talent and capability? You know, Sorry, that's something else now. I'm talking nonsense. Yeah. So about this one, right? Um, Learning and developing yourself continuously, right? It's something that we do even now, right? We have this like design knowledge sharing sessions. We've opened them up, and people can contribute. We've had various designers, even dev guys, BAs coming into the space, to contribute their knowledge, right? Um, and there's a big movement around like macro and continuous learning, which is great because you don't necessarily have to quit your current job and go somewhere else to learn. You can still engage and reach out to people easily. And there are a lot of people who are sharing their knowledge, right? Even on LinkedIn, on a daily basis. You've seen some videos. People talk about chat GPT. They talk about AI. They talk about various topics. About Figma releases, etc. Right? Some people, they will ask people to vote, uh, and for them to engage, right, on their content. And yeah, so anyways, so what makes you feel that you don't have enough togetherness, right? You'll share your thoughts again. You're thinking about what can be improved and so forth, right? The format is like pretty much like the same. Do others listen? Do they respect what you have to say, etc., right? And same format. Do you feel why you don't feel that you don't have enough voice, etc., right? And what can be done and so forth. And if you talk about the challenges, right? Do you feel that your work is challenging enough? Again, you look at the summary of the voting that you've received from your team, and you can just see how they feel on a scale of 1 to 10. You can talk about their issues. This is like something similar. It's very similar to how we do like retros, and but this is a bit more like structured, right? And you can kind of like gauge, okay, how the team is doing and how an individual is doing, etc., right? So once you go through this exercise, at some point, I'll show you shortly, right? How you can summarize this information and how it can help you in your team, and also how it can help you as an individual, right? To thrive and to stay engaged, right? clarity, which is really about, do you understand your work purpose and customer impact and so forth. So this might sound simple, but it's a challenge that people continuously have, right? People might say, okay, Sharp, we wanna plan what we wanna do for the next 3 months, right? And even if we say we've got 10, list of requirements, and we need to design, X and Y, journey, etc., right? There's always like, a bit of confusion about what exactly do we need, right? Can you create something new? Do we need to reuse existing journeys, etc., right? Like what are the boundaries? And how far do we push this, right? How much do we need to innovate and so forth, right? And sometimes you might feel that, hey, maybe the product owner is like asking me to do stuff that doesn't make sense. Why are we tackling this thing, right? Or the product owner might say, hey, you know what, we need to do this thing. You've got 2 sprints to get this done, right? And you don't even clearly understand, the purpose and how this thing will, impact the customer. And you are expected to deliver designs, within that 2 weeks, right? And so these are some of the challenges, right? So how do we get on the same page, right? And as much as we talk about agile, right? There's still, an expectation, for us to deliver, right? Or to do work in a certain way, right? And different understanding about what needs to be documented, right? Different understanding about, what is the critical output and so forth, right? And, sometimes you might feel that there's a bit of like flexibility for some individuals, and not so much for others, or maybe some, imposing, what they expect, from others as well, you know. So then you engage with business stakeholders, and they tell you X, and then the product owner expects Y, and at the same time you're trying to find that middle ground, right, to deliver quality work within reasonable, deadlines, while you are trying to, actually convince, business stakeholders to take a certain direction, right? So these are some of the challenges that you face. And again, these challenges like will actually make some of us, not to feel engaged, right? And sometimes might even feel like, yo, where is the challenge? What can I do differently? It seems like, maybe some people might even complain about design systems. Oh no, this thing is going to limit us. We don't have the opportunity to, to apply our thinking, right? Um, so, I mean, yeah, look, I think once you understand that, because we all have our own like interest, and how do you say, okay, Sharp, I'm gonna do what you want, but since I'm gonna sacrifice X, can you sacrifice Y, so that we can still meet our common goal, right? And it gets difficult because you want like to have like a kick-ass like, portfolio, and, so that you can share like amazing work, right, outside, because you want to, to be that like solid, designer that is kicking ass in the design industry, right? But if you're not getting much opportunities internally, then it can be a bit like challenging, right? And because, so as much as we have constraints, right, there's nothing that stops us like from being creative, to share our creativity. And even though maybe like 5% or 10% of what we share, might be done, right? And I think at some point, once you get to accept and understand, well, let's say accept, right? You don't necessarily have to like surrender and be like, okay, Sharp, you know what, this is it, right? But you can say, I am happy to find ways to maneuver in this corporate world, right? Knowing that there's certain challenges, but I need to still find ways for me to grow, right? And I need to still find ways for me to, to get the opportunities, to learn, right? And maybe the learning can even happen outside, right? And maybe can even up and outside of your team, or maybe by engaging with other teams, right, to add more value to your team, right? And maybe taking up like a project within your working environment that will help you to fulfill the gap that you're feeling, right? If you can, maybe if you're willing to sacrifice that like 10% or 20%, right? And yeah, because yeah, sure, people don't stay too long in companies, some they stay for like a year or 2 years, etc. At some point, as much as we can move around, eventually, you're gonna like admit to yourself and say, you know what, there's certain challenges that I need to face. There's certain challenges that I need to find ways to, to handle them, right? Without having to surrender, right? Um, so, anyways, I'm just gonna pause a bit here because I'm seeing a comment. Let me read it in terms of togetherness. At my company, what we do is that we meet at the office, and they would make time for us to participate in group activities with random employees, and allow us to, to connect with each other. That's great. Yeah, like I'll be curious to hear the type of activities that you guys do, right? And how often do they happen, and how much time is it, like, is allocated to them. And yeah, I mean, I've heard interesting things that various companies do, and I'm quite keen just to hear from you guys as well. So yeah, thanks. Um, yeah, I'm seeing. Hi, Pablo. I haven't heard from you. Tuning in from the UK. Great to see you. Yeah, actually, I'd love to know what you're up to, and I haven't heard from you since last year. Yeah, it's a new year now. It would be great to have you back, and I would love to have you as part of the guests. To share your wisdom, and yeah, I'm seeing Marlon James as well, from South Africa. Great to see you, Marlon. Um, yeah, another comment, guys. I'm sorry, I can't see I can't see the name of this person, and for some reason, between Restream, which is the platform I'm using, and LinkedIn, sometimes some people's names are shown and some are not. So if you can just, include your name, even the person who made a comment, and shared about what they do at their company, it would be great if you can just drop your name. Yeah, I'd love to, get to know each other. Yeah. So another one here, trust is key to any relationship. I believe togetherness, breeds trust. Yeah, so definitely, and I mean, trust is like, and it takes time. Trust is and over time, and I'm keen to hear, right? How are you guys attempting to build trust, and also, to hear about some of the, you know activities that you guys do, right? So I want to talk about growth. Do you feel that you continuously learn and develop your talent and capability, right? So I did touch a bit on this, right? And you know it's a lot has changed in the industry, right? And CVs used to stay in our like laptops. Then they went online, being available via LinkedIn, and via like other, like, platforms. And then the other big change, right, that has been happening is that now a CV is being socialized, right? When I say a CV is being socialized, you know, we get to know about people, what they do, what they're up to, the companies that they work for and the stuff that they're doing, their achievements, the challenges that they're facing, etc. Right. So if you engage with people, via LinkedIn, you'll get to know, you know, them over time, right? It's becoming easier to date people, to date designers, as opposed to just having like a formal like CV, right? So how is this relevant to growth, right? Um, and how is it relevant to continuous learning, right? Um, at the core, right? Fundamentally, we're still learning what is relevant, but how we're doing it is different, right? And yes, companies, they have their own, internal like systems and platforms, you know, um, in place. And depending on your role, there's like certain like courses that are recommended to you. Some they've like integrated with Udemy, etc. Right? And often people who are proactive, they continuously learn. Like, I mean, I've been learning a lot from LinkedIn. Like I pretty much go to LinkedIn nowadays like almost every day, which is something that I never used to do, right? Because I've seen the continuous growth, the continuous learning, right? And just being able to like read articles, or read comments from other designers in the industry, and people like sharing like content, and to also like to understand people's views, right? And I just spend a bit of time also like on Twitter, and not so much like, well, I guess maybe my approach is slightly different, right? Because I'm not there to like to express my views quite a lot, but my intention is just to observe people. Okay, this is what matters to them, right? This is how they translate diversity and inclusion, and these are the key topics, as we've seen, gender-based violence, load shedding, um, and the expectation of people in relationships, and traditional views versus new views, etc. Right? And how people like freely express themselves. And you'll find people asking, hey, which bank do you prefer? Right? They'll share that, their experiences, and also like you get like rich knowledge about what people do, right? So again, right, um, I can't necessarily say, hey, I am not like growing, at the company that I'm working for. And yes, to be great, maybe if I were to work for another company, right? But at the same time, you need to ask yourself, right, what is it that you can do, right? And what are the means, to grow? What are the opportunities, and how are the companies that we work for can best support us, right? So that we can continuously grow, right? So again, at a very like detailed level, maybe let me just zoom in here a bit, just so that you guys can see. I was talking about what is this, let's say continuous learning. Okay. um, yeah, I'm just gonna zoom in here just so that you guys can see, right? So the approach, it's simple. Again, you ask your designers to vote to vote a scale of 1 to 10, you know, and out of 20 designers, you'll see how they feel, and maybe 50, maybe 50% of them, they are at 35% level, maybe 20% of them, etc. Right? You get a good idea, but the most important thing, right, is to understand what impact can you have on that individual, right? And as much as people can share their own ideas, right? So you'll ask them, what makes you feel that you don't have enough growth, right? Or you're not getting enough growth, right? And maybe you don't get a chance to run usability tests, right? Usability tests are like one of the key critical activities in our space. I think it's worth spending a bit of time just to elaborate on this one. So a lot of the times, designers want to appear like, they are the full package. They understand this thing, and um, once they start like working, sometimes you might find that they're not as experienced, or maybe they didn't get opportunities, to run usability tests, right? Because yes, it does cost a bit of money, to recruit participants, and also it does cost companies a lot of time, because you have to spend a bit of time, to do research, to recruit participants, spend time to draft it, usability protocol, summarize the thing, etc. Right? Look, there are various ways you can do iterative, usability testing, which is much faster, but because you haven't gotten like a lot of experience, right, that might hinder your growth, right? And there are certain key things that we should be able to face and be comfortable. You don't have to be be a kick-ass designer who's got a solid experience when it comes to usability testing. But if you make an effort, right, to continuously ask yourself, right, whenever you've got an opportunity, what can you test, and how often can you interact with customers. If you have an opportunity, you want to grab it as much as you can, right? Because when it comes to growth, you can grow by learning tools, knowing the latest like features and features in Figma, how to use them efficiently, etc. Right? But fundamentally, like as a designer, the more time you spend with your customers, the better you become. The more time you try to get to validate your thinking, right? Because validating your thinking, because it's more than just design, right? It's really about understanding the mental model, right? Why do they think in a specific way? Why do they react in a specific way? Why do they feel the way they feel, etc. Right? And that is like a continuous like quest, because you can never like stop that, right? Because we evolve, right? And we get influenced by a lot of things that are happening around us, right? And yeah, so again, if someone in your team is collecting UTs, right, you can reach out to them and say, "Hey guys, can I please, be part of your team? And, or maybe can I run maybe one or two, and you need to be intentional about seeking the opportunities for growth, right? And as much as you can say, hey, I think 'cause the nice thing about nowadays is that a lot of companies, like, they're open, they are flexible, and people, like, are willing to try out like new things. Obviously, you might still like find some difficulties, to interact with certain individuals, but if you push for a change, right, and you say, hey, you know what, I can still meet my deadlines, but I want to go and work with that team, and because there's a certain thing that I need to learn, right, or I need to master a certain thing, and it will be grateful, if I can have the opportunity, right? Anyways, so yeah, there's a number of ways, right? People, I was attending a session last night. It was about, MBA for designers, DMBA, right? And which is something that I'm thinking of doing. And because as much as because you get to a certain point where you feel that if you can, lean more towards the business side of things than design, you can see a lot of growth, right? And yes, some companies, they have like hackathons, which are great opportunities, to apply our minds and to think about, how we can solve problems. And at the same time, right, the big question of how can we make money and how can you retain our customers is a question that we have to continuously face, right? And but yeah, and having that like business knowledge, you can strengthen, your approach to design, right? anyways, so yeah, I mean, there are a number of things, right? So as I said, the format really, is the same. And, you have this diverse engagement, you ask your team, they vote how they feel on a scale of 1 to 10. They share how they, what they're struggling with. They share what they think can be done. You can summarize this as a team, etc. Right? And yeah, so like I want to show like a quick example. Maybe let me just go. Let me skip this mode and maybe zoom in here a bit, right? So I'm gonna take. I just use someone's name, Dogozo. She's a visual designer, right? How is she feeling versus the team? So again, right? This is not about like comparison, right? It's really about like her, like how she feels, right? Maybe let me see if I can just take out this thing here. Sorry guys, yeah, I'm just gonna like freestyle here. Yeah, I hope, yeah. So I hope this is clear enough, right? So a couple of things, right? This is about Dogozo, okay? Her level of freedom, the challenge, her level of togetherness, voice, growth, recognition, etc. Right? And so here, you know, sh this is how she feels. This is how and this is how she currently feels. And then she might say, okay, maybe, in terms of freedom, right? High doesn't necessarily mean that high is better. Maybe she wants to have less freedom. Maybe she wants to have more freedom, right? It's really about like what she can do and what works for them. What works for her, right? And maybe she wants to achieve, level 7. That's her target. Okay. And maybe the team target is at 6, which is fine, and she can do so by catching up on what the team is doing, and and can comment about highlighting suggestions, etc. Right? And what support does she need, etc. Right? She can say, hey, maybe she's working on a particular team, maybe the team that works on the app or web or WhatsApp or you know smart TV or whatever, right? And in terms of like the challenge, right? How how is she feeling? What is she aiming for, right? Her versus the team, and again, it's she doesn't have to be at the same level as the team. Sometimes the team might feel that they're too challenged, or maybe they're not that challenged on average. Maybe she wants to, you know, um, be challenged more than a team, right? And that is fine. Again, right? What can she do? She can be more proactive about asking for tasks that involve maybe present. Maybe she needs to present, and because she's a junior visual designer, etc. Right? And what kind of support, right? So, anyways, so as we go through this exercise, right, you'll get to see. Let me just zoom in here a bit, right? So this is about Ndogozo. So this is here versus what the average score of the design team in terms of the drivers of engagement. So if you look at this right at an annual basis, let's just look at the beginning of this term, right? You can see, okay, this the faces that you see, it's Dogozo, and then the colorful, round thing is that's the team, right? In terms of freedom, the team might feel like they are on average they're good, and she might aim for 6, or she might feel that she's at level 6, right? And so let me pick something. Let's see, togetherness, right? So if she is introverted, and she might say, hey, actually, I am happy to be at level 4, or at level 5, right? And the team might be at level 7, for instance, right? And that's fine, because if the team is at 8, and because there are a lot of like people who are very social, they want to like meet up on a Friday after work, go to, I don't know, Santon City, grab a drink, eat some fancy food, etc., right? And maybe she wants to go home afterwards, right? because the important thing is really about like finding the balance, right? And because it's very hard like to force people, to all like behave in a certain way, right? And to have drivers of engagements that are like effective, it's really about like finding, ways, because we have technology now, right? And we can make use of it, and we can find easy ways to have that personalized experience, just like we design personalized experiences, for our customers. Same applies to our, employees, right? So how can we, instead of like, putting a, blanket statement, right, and making assumptions about the team at an average, sort of on an average, we can say, as an individual, what works for you, right? Maybe for you to get that balance, because at the end of the day, you need to get that, like, balance that will help you to thrive, right? Maybe you feel that, yeah, damn it, your voice is too much. Like, you've been talking a lot. You are like that guy who's like head in every meeting, right? And for you to find your balance so that you can, be productive, maybe you need to speak less now, maybe you need to hold back a bit, and then come and jump in, which is not easy, but if you're intentional, right? And again, same applies with growth, right? Just because everyone else feels that their growth is at like seven, at level 6 or 7 or 8, right? You can manage your own growth, right? And creating a space where people can grow at various levels, right? And as much as you can be comfortable and like, oh yeah, my team is like, performing well. Um, you might find those like critical designers in your team that they're not growing as much. Maybe they need to be changed to another team, or maybe they need to, be in a completely different environment, right? Or maybe they need to, play a different like role, right? With because design is quite broad, I mean, this thing is evolving, and I'm expecting it to evolve more, and because then the number of people that contribute to an experience, whether you're a fashion designer, photography, maybe, you can have a person who just mainly focuses on capturing amazing, pictures that can contribute to the experience. Maybe Dogozo is that kind of a person, right? She doesn't necessarily have to spend a lot of time designing, screens in Figma, but she can like capture, and create like amazing, stories that will influence the quality of the experience, right? Anyways, so, but yeah, guys, I'm just gonna, pause here, and I know people have been asking some questions. I'm also quite keen, just to see if there are any questions. I think I've addressed the questions that were in the chat. I've addressed this one. I'm actually quite keen to see who this person is. Oh, it was Dogozo, and okay, that was a greeting. And let me see the last one. Okay, so this was from Ozoretu Kubeza. Ozoretu, yeah, nice to see you, man. Yeah, I didn't see that comment came from you. Yeah, anyways, guys, so yeah, as I said, we'll definitely still plan for the how to design for Web3. I will put content together myself and present that. We're supposed to have a speaker from Nigeria, and yeah, she couldn't make it. It is what it is, because it's difficult, to commit, and I'm grateful, for everyone who's like contributed, because we all have commitments because we're working, full time, and this is, this heavily depends on people volunteering and finding time, and hoping that, life won't surprise them. But yeah, guys, anyways, I want to say thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you for those who came, and yeah, thanks for the support. It's really great, and yeah, I'm quite keen to see more of you, and if you want to present a topic, please let me know. We've got a lot of topics that are planned. I think until end of May, beginning of June. So yeah, and we have a session planned next week, and yeah, I'm confident that the speaker will be able to join us. We've got an amazing guy from um, let me see, from Ethiopia, yeah, Louis Haley. So yeah, Louis would be talking about design is not art. So that's his session. It's gonna be a big one, and I've seen a lot of interest, from that session. Yeah, a lot more, close to like 500 people, that have shown interest to attend. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, as I said, we've got a lot of events that are planned, and yeah, I'll be keen to see more of you guys. We've got a live design battle that's coming up, and this is basically an opportunity where designers can come. I'll give them a brief live. They will design in an hour and a half or so. What I will observe them, have drinks, wine, beer, whatever, whiskey or snacks. Watch them design live, and yeah, it's quite an amazing experience. Yeah, you can come and join us. Usually we have those on Fridays, once a month. So there's one that's coming up, and yeah, we've got some few topics: data-driven design topic, the art of vulnerability in design, and we have we have a plan. I think we've got about 2 or 3 also sessions that are going to be primarily like ran in French. Some guys from Cote d'Ivoire, and yeah, we'll see if we can get some people who can assist us with English, or they can do a bit of English in between. And yeah, there's a lot, guys, so please join us, and yeah, just follow our page, check out the events, go and click attend. I know I often invite people, but it would be great if you can just make an effort to go to our page and just attend. It's okay if you can't come and attend when we're streaming. You can always go and watch the sessions later whenever you have time. Anyways, guys, let me say just it's been great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.